Welcome to the Anti-Blueprint Project, Volume 2, exploring unconventional routes to happiness and success. What started out as a LinkedIn post, which became a blog, and finally a book, is back for our second edition. We'll be meeting interesting people who've carved out their own niche in their career, where at some point they will have had to tread their own path to find their way. I'm Jonathan Weaver, marketeer, writer, and public speaker who's worked with brands including DB, Burton, and Nike. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. Welcome to this week's episode of the Anti-Blueprint Project, where I met Tommy Newman, a guy I've met since moving to Portugal. He's a fascinating character who came actually from the world of finance, but then was plagued with various physical issues related to work. And so kind of jacked it all in, followed his heart into the world of yoga, breathwork, sauna, and ice baths. He has a very unique approach to life, to wellness, and as we discovered, parenting. I love this episode, and I hope you gain as much from it as I did. All right, good morning, Tommy.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. We were just going through a little bit of the backstory. I think maybe start at the present. So
Yeah.
you're undergoing one of the things that most people, I don't know, maybe they enjoy it, maybe they hate it, selling a house, trying to move countries and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
tell us, you're leaving Portugal and you're going to Thailand.
Going to Thailand, yeah, to live, well, I wouldn't say permanently because you just never know.
You never
Obviously, I've certainly realised that nothing's permanent. So moving to Thailand, we've been here nearly 6 years now,
Yeah.
and it's been amazing. The kids are getting a little bit older now.
Yeah.
We've been living between Portugal and Thailand, so we spend about 3 months in Thailand each year.
Yeah.
We can't seem to stay away.
Yeah.
It's probably not sustainable to keep doing that.
Yeah.
So we visit family for like 1 week a year in England, you know,
Yeah.
and then Portugal and then Thailand. And I think it wasn't sustainable to continue with all three. So something had to give.
Okay.
And going back to see family in England is important.
Yeah.
And probably to spend a little bit more time there than we have been, you know.
Yeah.
So, plan to move to Thailand on the 30th of June. We leave. We've got our flights booked. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Very cool. And Portuguese winters don't interest you anymore after
You know
this year.
what? I always feel bad because I have the sauna, right?
Yeah.
And I always feel bad when I leave in the winter to go to Thailand and
Yeah.
close down the sauna. But we only go to Thailand then because it's the best time to go, actually. It's not about leaving the winters, but it helps,
That's what you
especially
say.
because
That's
this
what
one
you
was
say.
a bit of a rainy one. But
Yeah.
definitely the initial, or one of the initial motivations, at least for moving to Portugal away from England, was of definitely escaping the English weather a little bit.
Yeah, I get that.
More time in the sun.
So I first heard of you through Nick Baines, who
Right.
yoga instructor, editor of my first book. And I remember when you were coming here, he was like, "You got to meet Tommy. Like he's the coolest. He's into saunas and he's into yoga and breathwork and all the rest of it." And I would say that's probably when sauna breathwork was still, I don't know, to the average person in its infancy. And you've built up quite a community here in the last 6 years, right? So maybe explain a bit about what you do. At the
Yeah,
moment
sure.
with India.
I'm definitely not the coolest. My kids would definitely
Don't worry, my
testify to
parents
that
don't
fact, you know. But yeah, it happened by mistake, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I started some practices like yoga, like breath work, like sauna and cold water as a result of some health issues in the past. Nothing too crazy, but normally I find these things through like a physical requirement, you know. That's what kind of gets us to start these things, and then really for me it's how it makes me feel that keeps me doing it. So of course there's some science involved and there's some facts and all this kind of stuff. That's not really, you know, intuitively I think we know the stuff that's good for us and the stuff that's bad for us. So whilst I might have had a very physical requirement to begin yoga, to begin movement, breath work, actually in different stages of my life, what kept me doing it was how it made me feel.
Yeah.
So I naturally had an inclination, normally like we do, when we find something really cool, we want to share it, right?
Yeah.
So in England, I opened a yoga studio. So I had a change of career, opened up a yoga studio, and I really wanted to help people become more mobile because I had experienced through a back problem when I was 22 to 25, where I couldn't even really walk very well. I had a lot of pain, and it was quite debilitating.
Was it as a result of something, or just general life and wear and tear?
Well, I think sometimes, because my mum had the same thing and her father had the same thing, so there's a little bit of hereditary stuff going on. But I didn't take care of my body when I was young. I started labouring quite young, when I was like even 14, 15, I was doing manual labour work. Yeah. And then when I got to 16, 17, 18, I was doing more, and it was like lifting stuff without really caring about my body at all. Yeah. And then probably like going to the gym and just being stupid, thinking my body was like invincible. Yeah. I'd like to say that it wasn't completely brought on by myself, but some of it probably was not really knowing what I was doing in the gym, or lifting too many breeze blocks in the yard or whatever, without really paying enough attention to how that might affect me. So there was a bit of that, and then eventually the pain went from my back to my leg. So whilst I had a back problem, I had this like electricity through my leg where I had like the disc had basically like herniated so bad that it was really clamping the nerve. And it caused me quite a lot of pain. And when my first son was born, I couldn't really spend much time like on the floor as I dreamed. I was 25. All I wanted to do is play with my kid, and I had a lot of pain going on. I was the only earner in the house, in the family, so not going to work wasn't an option for me, Yeah. So I would like walk to work like a duck, like with my ass like stuck out, and I'd walk around the office like that. Yeah. And I couldn't really sit down. There was a period of time where I couldn't sit down. I couldn't really stand up either without being in pain. Yeah. So it was difficult, but I had to sort of get through that. I was lucky to have surgery. Did. And then after that, I was told, that's it. You wouldn't do Muay Thai again. You wouldn't. There's a lot of things you won't do again. Yeah. I was prescribed like very strong pain medication, kind of indefinitely, and told like I would be signed off work. Wow. And neither of those things was like an option. I was willing to accept. So through pure stubbornness, I rejected the medication and basically took matters into my own hands, began a yoga class. Yeah. Again, I started the yoga to help my body. Like I'll stretch a bit, help my body. But actually I found like as I began practicing more and more, I was like, oh my God, like this helps. Yeah. This is helping with a lot of other stuff perhaps I wasn't even aware of.
And did the NHS or whoever you were seeing, did they talk about yoga, or was it more we're going to do the surgery and give you pain meds and that's it?
Yeah, no, it was that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Is it still the same today, or do you think it's changed?
I have no idea. I would say in England for sure, and probably globally, there's definitely more like it's more accessible. I think like there were no guys doing. But to the yoga classes I went to, there's maybe like there was like two of us or something, and I felt a bit. The first couple of classes, I felt. I went with my mum actually. That's how I started. I was going to yoga with my mum for a few months. Yeah. And then, I just really realized how much it did for my mind as well. So I kept practicing. And then I got this mobility that I hadn't experienced probably since I was like 15 or even younger, maybe. Like I could move my body in ways I hadn't for years, really,
Wow. So you went from taking classes to having your own studio?
Yeah, I had my own studio. So I worked in an office for many years before that, and, had a change of path anyway. I got to the point where I wanted to mix things up and try something new. I had this real strong desire to try and I was aware there's people out there with back problems, and when you have a back problem you can't see it. Yeah. And so you feel like you're a burden on people, and you can't really describe the pain.
And it's also one of those things that when you have it, ironically, I had it when we had the first child. I think a lot of men get it when they're the first kid, and you start picking people up and all the rest of it, and it is. It's the craziest thing because you feel completely debilitated.
Yeah, and you feel to be 25 and to not be able to like move very well and to be in that kind of pain, and thinking ahead of like, well, I'm hoping there's like at least another like 70 years or 50, 60 years or whatever. Like I can't carry on like this. So basically it kind of made me realize like you have to take things into your own hands, and you have to be proactive about your well-being and not just with your body but with your mind already. So I opened the yoga studio, which was pretty cool. I realized quite quickly with the yoga that having the studio wasn't the healthiest thing for me, because I really enjoyed doing yoga.
Not all the admin.
Or movement. And I really enjoyed like bringing people together and sharing it. Yeah. But like the running and the management of the thing, it was something I automatically went to because you think, oh, well, let's, let's have a place, you know, if we can, let's try it out. And my friend had like a warehouse. He was roasting coffee beans there, and he just had a room up the top, and he said, just use that if you want. And it was a really great space, but I wanted to focus on my classes and what I was sharing with people. I didn't really want to focus on like scaling up the classes or having like big timetables and lots of people and things like that. I'd been managing people for a long time, and I wanted to just focus on yoga. That's all I wanted to do was, or like movement in some way. And so, and then COVID came, and then basically we moved to Portugal. So we decided to move.
And so before, because that's a pretty big life change. So you were working in finance sector in the UK?
Yeah. So I started in a call center when I was 22. The same one, Erin. So Erin's my wife, and so my brother was working there, and I wanted to go to a music festival, and I couldn't get the time off work. So he said, look, come and get a job at the call center. He was like a manager or a project manager. I didn't, you know, he was just senior. He'd been there a long time already. He said, I'll get you a job, just 2 weeks. And then come to the festival.
So just quit the other job.
So I quit the other job, Went to the festival with my two brothers, had a great time. Started a new job. And actually in the beginning, it was like, you know, in this day, this was 2009, right? So the call center was like a modern day factory. We were, you know, in a way, we were sort of factory workers, I would say, right? It's a startup position. I had no GCSEs. I only had 1 C in GCSEs.
Oh, really?
So I've, you know, failed my schooling pretty badly. So it wasn't like I had a ton of options in front of me. I'd been working manual jobs a lot before that and a few other things. So when I got there, it was like a lot of our friends working there, and Erin's family, my family. And it was like, you know, it began as something that was kind of fun in a way. For me, the biggest thing I noticed, I've been working outdoors for like most of my life. I've been like cold and wet and like, you know, working, you know, we used to work when I was working in a quarry. We'd start at 7 and finish at 6, 5 days a week. Then we'd work 7 to 1 on a Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And so when I arrived in this office, it was like they were providing like croissants for breakfast and like
nice coffee
chocolate
breaks.
spread. And I was warm, and I could wear, it wasn't like an office where you wear suits. It was like kind of casual wear most of the time. And it was the kind of place where I was very fortunate. The owner of the business didn't really value like your sex, like whether you're male or female. He didn't really value like your social class, I guess, like your education. So he only really valued your effort and your delivery. So what started there is something that was quite fun, quite lighthearted, I would say, as a stopgap. I realized for the first time probably that I could take responsibility and I could make a difference myself. I could change my life because he was willing to provide the options there for whoever was willing to take it. I think in comparison to what I'd been doing up to that point, to me, this was like, I was grateful. Like, you're willing to like pay me to be here like warm and like safe and not worried about getting like run over by a massive machine.
It is interesting because, you know, we've both got kids, and there is a part where when your kids are growing up, you know, I certainly know for me, probably similar to you go through the teenage period and you're kind of trying to figure life out. And some people just, I don't know, school doesn't work for them. College doesn't work out for whatever reason. And I am a big believer that, you know, you do need to be able to hire people, whatever you're doing, who, for whatever reason, that part of their life, they didn't go the regular route. But they're sure as hell going to work hard at whatever they're doing. And sometimes I suppose it's the same in sport. Like there are those stories of people who come into a sport late or they're on a different path, but they work way harder than everyone else, and it works out.
That was my currency in the beginning, I guess. That was what I felt like I could offer. So there were people there that were far more intelligent than me, far more better educated. The difference is I was willing to do whatever it took. So, you know, I had moved around a lot. Not long after that, so, you know, things got a bit more serious. I got married when I was 24. We were pregnant at 24, had our first son at 25. So what started off as like a little stopgap, I had responsibilities. I would love to say I was aiming for like a massive career in like big houses and like I had it all figured out and I knew what I wanted, but I wasn't. Part of it was just I was insecure that I wasn't good enough. So it meant that every single day I would just do more than everyone else was willing to do. So there was a few hundred employees there, and I knew that like the ages we were at, people would still continue drinking during the week or party on a Thursday or whatever. For me, I was figuring out that if I didn't drink, I could get this many more hours of productivity in the day to just produce more results. Again, not to achieve big things. I was just, in my head, I was just trying to keep my job at first. And then keeping your job goes to, there's an opportunity where somebody's maybe leaving. Maybe I could
step up.
Yeah, or like maybe I don't enjoy their management style. So maybe if I was managing it, I could make my own life better by just doing a better job, and then for other people also. So throughout that career, I guess I continued to grow in job role to the point where I was a director at the end.
Oh, wow.
And then was able to give things back by offering opportunities to other people who were already working internally, who perhaps also didn't have the best education.
Yeah.
Regardless of what their history was or anything else, just basically if they had the right attitude, then I wanted to give those people opportunity too. So part of my biggest motivation there was then enabling other people to progress as well and create opportunities for themselves. So it went round kind of full circle, I guess. Yeah.
And do you like it, because I'm sure that's for a lot of people. Yeah, they just struggle at school. Or do you think the world should sort of, I don't know, make more space for people who don't get on well with school and college and stuff?
It's tricky because I would love to blame school for me not doing well at school, you know? But I just didn't take part. I just wasn't that interested, to be honest with you. You know, I started drinking, you know, at 14 and drinking pretty heavily, 14, 15, 16. Yeah. And, you know, having fun and not taking it seriously. Yeah. I think one of the problems for me was that I think sometimes school can create the idea that it's the responsibility of the teachers to secure your future. Yeah. You know, and it's just absolutely not. And so when you finish school and you have no GCSEs and you're working a job that's many, many hours of the week in the cold and the rain, in dangerous environments, to be honest with you, some of the things I was doing, working with like crushing machines and stuff, was quite sketchy. Yeah. When you're doing that kind of thing, then you realize actually, you know, I'm not saying that the world's like a really cold and dark place, but your future is your responsibility, and actually changing anything about your life, really, you have to be proactive about that. Yeah. So school, maybe, you know, I don't know if school was right for me or not, because I didn't really take part, if that makes sense. I kind of opted out, I guess, and was there to have like some fun. Yeah. I didn't like school at all in the first and second schools. I just didn't enjoy being there. I wanted to be with my family. I didn't know why we had to be apart for so many hours of the day. Yeah. You know, at first school, I didn't really know why, you know, my mum was at home and I had to be here with these like strangers, like doing stuff I wasn't really that interested in. Upper school, we call it, or high school. I loved it because I had a lot of fun, had a lot of good times there, but it wasn't productive in the sense of like achieving academic success. Yeah, you know?
3-year drinking scholarship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just having a bit too much fun. But you know, who knows? Maybe there was some things I learned throughout that. Yeah. You know, the biggest one being ending up with no prospects. Yeah. And that was probably the biggest learning curve of like, now this is my chance, this is my responsibility. I did know that it was possible to provide value as an employee for somebody and to be rewarded for that, you know. When we were like 13, me and my friends, we worked on a farm where we would go around collecting like ragwort out of the ground. Yeah. We only did it because they let us drive a Jeep around. Perfect. And it was just like a bit of fun, but we got a bit of money for that. And then we'd work the clay pigeon shoots. We had like manual traps, shoot the clays off, you know, really sketchy ones that would like flip round and smash you in the leg. Yeah. But like, I always, relatively speaking, I didn't have much money growing up. So when someone was willing to offer me money, like an employer, to me, I was like, always like, that was like a big thing for me. So I was like, oh, you're paying me, so I'm going to do the thing you're paying me to do. Yeah. And I remember that guy, who was a friend of my brother's that owned the farm, and he said, your brother's working really hard. Like, he's by far like exceeding the others who are trying to slack. And I was like, you know, it was like a real bit of like positive feedback that I had, which was very different to obviously like my academic feedback I was getting at that point. So to realize like you could create value in yourself by having like a strong work ethic became, as I was saying earlier, kind of my currency. So that stayed with me a lot, and it stayed with me moving forward. When I was working the manual jobs, I knew I wanted to get out of that crushing machine. I knew I wanted to get, we'd have huge piles of crushed concrete. Yeah. Massive, like biggest buildings. I had to walk over with a bucket, just collecting tiny bits of wood, you know, for like 65 hours a week. And I knew I had to change this, you know. Yeah. It's a great, you know, I'm not saying someone's got to do it. Yeah, yeah. And the first couple of years when you come out of school with no education, you need to earn money. You know, we were paid £6 an hour for that. And that was like, I wouldn't be able to earn that anywhere else. Yeah, that was good.
£3 an hour when I started in a pub.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew I had to change it though. So every lunchtime, we were in a quiet area of the quarry, and the two old guys I was working with, lovely guys, Merv and Terry, their names, they would give me the keys to their diggers. And on my lunch breaks, instead of eating, I would go and just practice driving the diggers, which was cool because you're in a big machine, like chucking around soil. And then I did that for a few months, and then the foreman, who was like this kind of like angry Glaswegian, scary guy, came up, and I saw his Toyota pull up, and he was just staring at me whilst I was in the machine, you know. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm fired. Like, this is bad. And he said, like, come with me, kind of thing. And we went down to the office, and he threw me a set of keys and said, you're a machine driver now. You know?
Oh yeah, there you go.
And I was like, fuck, yes. Like, that was such a massive, monumental part of my life. And that, coupled with like the farmland feedback I'd had of like just someone saying, oh, your brother's a good worker. That stayed with me forever. That never went away.
Well, it's funny because now that I don't know, with the rise of social media and stuff, like a lot of stuff you see online is that you've got to start your own business, you've got to be an entrepreneur, you've got to do this. But for a lot of people, like, as you say, going to work, working for someone who gives you some feedback, you get paid some money. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a great way. I mean, it's what I do. That's my day job. And I think sometimes it's been, I don't know. Yeah, I think the sort of entrepreneurship thing has been so pushed from everyone. Yeah,
for sure. So I'm not an entrepreneur. Let's just, let's just set that out right away. I tried it. Yeah. I tried it. After I had my back operation, I had my first son. Yeah. The company I was working for, like I said, the owner and my boss, I guess, had this real strong principle of like, no matter who you are, what you're delivering is your value. Yeah. Nothing else matters, right? And that meant so much. But, companies grow. And there was this manager brought in ahead of me. I was still kind of working in the call center as a manager, so he was kind of a director. He's a nice guy, really nice guy, but very different principles. He'd come from like micromanaging. The opposite, he kind of wanted people maybe to like play golf with him at the weekend or to go for a drink after work. And if you weren't going for a drink after work or for the dinners on a Thursday, and I couldn't give a shit about any of that stuff.
Very old school UK vibe.
I just wanted to get back to my wife at the end of the day and the kids, I didn't want to be doing that. Yeah. But he brought in these new rules of like, it was kind of a bit like how it was before. It was like we were doing like 8 till 8 shifts. Yeah. And would insist that we did like every Saturday. And then I wasn't enjoying it so much, and I was trying a couple of other things. Yeah. So I set up like an app. So this was 2011. So iPhones were like relatively new still.
Early on the curve.
Do you remember when everyone was making apps? Yeah. I'm sure that was a thing, right? Yeah. And I was like, right, let's have a go at making an app. Yeah. Part of it was to make money. Part of it was to like, I don't know, give something back, I guess. I made this app that basically tracked like where you'd been on a night out for yourself, not for anyone else.
So you could retrace your steps.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I would, have some big ones sometimes. And then I have like, I have a lot of feeling in life in general. I have a lot of energy. I'm someone, I wake up in the morning, I have to get out of bed because I'm like excited to go, know. And so that can be problematic when you throw alcohol into the mix, because I'd be like, this is going to be the best night ever. Like stood on tables, like can't literally just trying to motivate people to like, this could be our last night. Let's go crazy, all this kind of thing. And it meant often I would not remember where I'd been. Yeah. When you have a massive high like that, it's okay if it's achieved through something natural like cold water or stuff we might talk about later. When you do it through alcohol or even drugs, what you have the next day is a massive crash and a huge amount. For me, I had like, they call it like beer fear or something. Yeah. And I just needed to retrace it over and over again. It was like maybe I controlled a lot of things in my life, as I've said, which I quite enjoyed. And when I didn't have the control anymore of not knowing like what whether I'd said anything embarrassing, normal stuff, like really simple stuff. At the time, the next day I would be, I'm talking like really serious
you'd have that crazy anxiety where you're kind of like, the sort of weird one-day depression sets in. Yeah,
one-day depression, and I would feel very low, to be honest with you. I'm smiling a lot, but on those moments, I felt my self-worth was zero, because I thought, what sort of person am I to go out and to drink that much and to smoke that many cigarettes and to sort of like damage myself that much, And
so, did you stop drinking?
Yeah, many times. Yeah, I'd gone through periods of time when I was 18, I stopped drinking for a period of time. When I was 21, I stopped drinking. Usually like 6 months. Yeah. Usually after like an event where I was like too drunk and just thought this is enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, by this point, when my son was born, I wasn't drinking anymore or regularly, or at least I would say I didn't have like a problem with drinking anymore at all. However, I wanted to make this app because it was something I had experienced,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd kind of had to do it cheaply. We had no money at the time. I was the only earner, as I said, wasn't earning a lot. We were eating like pasta and tin tomatoes like every day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy financially. So I thought, let's give this a crack, but I outsourced it to like, you could find these like in India, these like outsourced like app making
like
companies.
Fiverr or something.
Yeah. And it was just really cheap. And the guy was like so nice, like I just like really gelled with him, but it just didn't work. And I couldn't pay any more to get it done properly. So, but while that was going on, me and my brother-in-law, we were trying to launch like an MMA fighting, Aaron's brother's like into MMA stuff.
Yeah.
So we were trying to launch like a clothing brand.
Yeah.
And then I was also helping my wife's stepmom do like a website.
Yeah.
And so I was doing like 12-hour shifts. And then I had like my son.
Yeah.
And I had a laptop that didn't work. So like, the trackpad, like when I moved my finger on it, the mouse every now and then would do this for 20 seconds. Like,
oh God. Yeah.
So like I would be there. If you imagine me, we didn't have like a desk. So I'd be sat on like my sofa with like my dining chair in front of me with a laptop on with a pretty bad back. I had my son like on my lap because I was allowing my wife to rest. It was the end of the day. She'd been looking after him all day. And I was like trying to like build an app and a clothing brand, which I was really bad at. And something had to change. I was pretty exhausted.
Yeah. You sound pretty entrepreneurial for someone who says they're not an entrepreneur.
Well, neither of them worked. Neither of them worked.
I get it.
Yeah, neither of them worked. But the thing is I had to make a decision at that point.
Exactly.
So what I had at that point was the drive, right? I had the determination. Like I had the work ethic. I wasn't, I'd put any hours of the day in whatever I needed to do. But what I didn't have was focus. So what I needed to do was make a decision, basically. Because whilst all that was going on, the job I was doing internally in the company, I was good at, to be honest, I don't know why, I don't know how, but I was winning like awards like Manager of the Year and things like this. Seemed small, but at the time I'd be like crying with joy, It was like, even at that point, it was like I'd gone from sort of feeling like I had no clue, no prospects, to like winning an award for the year or something, It was meaningful to me, especially in a company where somebody maybe with the right social status or education or wore the right clothes could have been rewarded in another company for the wrong reasons, So that stuff was very powerful. But I kind of made the decision actually not do the entrepreneurial stuff, drop all of that and focus 100% on my work.
Business,
I knew the guy, at the time, he wasn't going to last too long.
Yeah.
Sometimes in those senior positions, they last a little bit longer. But I knew that if I just kept going, perhaps I would have the opportunity to do that one day, but maybe do it in a way that was in line with the company principles and values and stuff. And that's basically what I did.
Oh, nice.
So I focused on it 100%.
Yeah.
My productivity or my delivery of what I was achieving at work went up exponentially. And I ended up working in creating like a whole training department. So training was something I was very passionate about. Bringing... So in an office environment, sometimes it can be quite robotic and you lose the human element of what you're doing. So my whole thing was about consciousness. So, when you're working in finance, it's kind of like, it's not like it's a risky business because you're dealing with like lending and things like this, so you need to try and make sure people are doing it the right way. So what I wanted to do was bring these like very powerful training modules to wake people up and say, lend money as if it's your own, and also treat customers like they're your family members. So I created, rather than training that was like PowerPoint presentations, it was more about like waking them up, showing what happens when things go wrong.
Oh, okay.
And trying to bring that conscious human element back to the workplace, I guess, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, so did that. But then, later on, had a change, I was trying to remember where we were, but we were on yoga studio, weren't we?
Yeah, my mind is just going through
on a right tangent.
It's good. My mind is going through a combination of the Wolf of Bournemouth and Bournemouth Gary Stevenson. Somewhere in between. But no, it's good. So
I have to ask who's Gary Stevenson.
Okay, he's he is the British economist. He was a trader at Citibank. He wrote an amazing book called Trading Game.
Okay.
Grew up in East London. Very, very intelligent, but got into Citibank, and there was a lot of people who were like, you need to wear the clothes, you need to go for the dinners. And he was just like, fuck that, I'm doing this, because he was mad smart. And he was, I think 2008, he was Citibank's top trader because he betted against the recovery and it worked out. But very working class background, very good. So
interesting.
Great book if you want a
that's the thing. I don't have a lot of knowledge in general about people and things like this. That is a bit of a downside sometimes.
Let's carry on then. So you finished at some point that part of your life finished and you moved out of the sort of finance sector?
Yeah. So I was saying earlier that my work ethic, it might be worth touching, my work ethic was like everything, right? It was just basically whatever anyone would do, I would do more. Like if you're going to stay an extra, I'll stay 2 hours more. Whatever it is, I'll do more. Yeah. That changed later when you become responsible for growing teams and people. I realized that when you're working from that point of view, I was very hyperactive. I was working in this like fearful state of like fearing for like losing your job. And when you're in that position, your sort of ego takes over and you become quite competitive. And there's like sibling rivalry with your colleagues and this kind of thing. And that's not actually what the owners and bosses really want at all. I mean, there's an element of like making sure people are like, aiming for success and driving things forward. But it's actually better on the whole if everyone's like trying to make each other better, right?
Yeah.
And like trying to hire people who are better than you.
Especially you as the leader to bring the best out of the people.
Yeah, exactly. So the rhythm had to change a little bit from like me just like wanting to like, I never even really cared about being the best. Like I said, most of the time it's because I thought I was really shit.
Yeah.
And I thought someone's going to find out.
Yeah.
So I need to just keep up this appearance that like I just can work really hard and that's all I've got.
Yeah. I think that's a British thing that we suffer with.
Yeah, I think so too. And then as I became responsible for teams, actually my yoga and meditation, other things I was doing, it really helped me slow down a little bit. And I realized in that position, actually, the best thing would be for me to find people who are way better than me. There's nothing more valuable than someone in an organization who is bringing in people who are better than themselves. Yeah. Your boss is never going to be like, we should get rid of him because everyone's better. Yeah. They were like, well, he's bringing in people that are amazing. Let's keep that going, So it's funny that I was, when I'm talking about meditation, yoga, often what I'm not saying is people need to like renounce like the world and go live in a cave and stuff. Like a lot of the time when we're working in this hyperactive state where we're operating from like a place of fear very, very fast, we're actually not able to make rational decisions because we're usually just protecting ourselves, protecting our jobs, our positions within those businesses. Mm-hmm. So instead, like I started going to the sauna every lunchtime, right? I was able to find the time to do that. And it meant when I came back, I was just able to think a little bit more rationally and see the whole picture. And that made me, again, I think probably more valuable at that point.
It also sets a good example to your team members, because if you're one of those people who sends emails at 3 a.m. and has those behavior traits you're talking about, all of a sudden everyone thinks that's what they have to do as well.
Yeah, or it was more, if it was more like what people will do inside a business is they'll try and avoid failure, right? Because of the fear. So, for example, if somebody's in a separate department and they're like digging into like what your thing's doing, people become very guarded, or a manager or a director or something will ask the analyst to provide numbers that make it look like they're doing a really good job, Mine was the opposite. I was like desperate to know. I just wanted to be better. So I was desperate to know where I was failing. Please keep looking, dig in. And that was only really as a result, I think, of like gaining some control over my ego. Just for that last 2 years, I would say were my most productive. So that really helped me, was to like not be constantly like guarding myself. Yeah. Guarding, the whole picture. Yeah. And I think that's what I'd say, where obviously everybody, there's a big drive to being an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And I've been to like talks, where someone's like, fuck it, just do it. Whatever your dream is, drop everything, just go for it, 100%. Yeah. And I'm like, if I'd done that, right, what I would have had is 2 failed businesses and no job. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to say, actually, my idea's shit. Yeah, basically, or I'm not good at this. This isn't the thing I'm good at, Yeah. And actually, maybe you could use like intrapreneur, but actually, you could have an opportunity within an organization where you can really, gain some valuable things and provide some value from being inside a company.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think everyone has an area where they excel. So, like, I've worked in like everything from startup to mid-size to very large. Startup, I'm like, I don't think I'm that good at this, because it is like a lot of like, okay, we need some money in the business. Yeah, who's going to go and find some money? It's like, maybe not my skill set.
Yeah.
On the big scale, when you're just doing politics, also very challenging. But in the mid, for a lot of people, it's like the best area because you get to actually have an impact on people.
Yeah.
Lead people, help them get better. But it's something which is going somewhere.
Yeah,
which I think
for
is really
sure.
important.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I wanted a change of, you know, I kind of got to the point where, you know, I knew that there was some financial stability I wanted for my family for sure. You know, I wanted us to not be like maybe kicked out of somewhere like I was when I was younger. You know, like as a family, I wanted to make sure maybe that didn't happen. I wanted to make sure maybe there were like options for food, like things for them to eat that was like relatively healthy.
It's always nice.
It's always nice. Stuff like that. It was kind of like basic stuff. I got to the point where I was able to exceed past those levels, I guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say by accident, but certainly nothing I expected along the way. Things just went very well, and I had the opportunity to do something different. What I had been doing up to that point is sprinting. You know, it was like being. I don't know. That sounds really stupid, but you imagine with like not stupid, but it sounds a bit. How do I describe it? You imagine like an athlete, right? They have a time period where they can deliver to their optimum level, right? Yeah. You can't do it forever. You can't do like 60 years of being like an Olympic sprinter or something. There's just no chance. The way that I'd been operating was like as a sprinter. Like I'd been sprinting, but for like 9 years. Like,
wow.
You know, I'd been really going for it. You know, every day it was like the way I treated it, basically every morning when I wake up, I don't know if you have this, but every morning I wake up, I feel grateful every day for like being alive and having like eyes and my legs moving and stuff and the kids being okay. Like, I don't know where that comes from. When I was a kid, I had these moments where I had very, very deep feeling of connection to like the world and life. Yeah. And that sometimes could be quite sad. You know, I had a period of time where I cried a lot because I realized like everyone's going to die. Yeah. Do you remember that as a kid? Like my parents are going to die one day, and that's fucking sad. Like we're not just going to be together forever. Yeah. At some point, that changed. It became something I was really grateful for because, like, when we have too much of anything, it's like we just don't do anything anyway. You know,
everything gets a bit soft. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you have like, I don't know, 6 months off, you're probably going to waste a shitload of time, right? Yeah. So when you know you have like a day off, you'll maximize that. And I think that's really what life is and this impermanence is about. We can get a lot more out of it and experience things like nostalgia. Nostalgia only happens because things are changing, because things are impermanent. We can look back fondly on things. The difference was I can feel that on a daily basis, I guess. That warm, fuzzy feeling of feeling alive, I feel quite often.
There's a quote I always really like about that. I forget who it's by, but it's a man has 2 lives and his second only begins when he realizes that he only has one.
Right. Yes, yeah.
Because I think, until you're sort of 25, 30, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, everyone's going to be here forever, mum and dad. And along the way, stuff starts to happen and you feel your mortality. And then you're like, oh, okay. And maybe it's personal health. Maybe it's you lose someone. Mm-hmm. But then I also think it helps you then focus of like, okay, where do I actually want to go?
Oh, 100%. I mean, think of the things that would be missing if time was infinite, you know, like, you know, I used to think that like the key is like happiness, like joy 100% of the time. I don't believe that at all anymore. Like for me, my goal in life is just to feel something, right? Like I want to live life with a bit of intensity. And I don't mean like bungee jumping and stuff. I mean just feeling moments, you know, talking to my kids and actually seeing them and being there and not thinking about getting back to my email or my phone or something like that. And so, you know, to do that, you need these moments of space that are kind of created in between the doing. But anyway, so I had these. So like, for example, just to continue that point a little bit, like music, for example, if everything was infinite, or you had no pain, you'd only had happiness. There's a lot of songs like you'd miss out on, or parts of songs or movies or whatever that just wouldn't mean much to you if you didn't have, you know, the feeling that things might not be here forever. You know.
Yeah, and I also, again, as parents, like I see it with my own kids, like they have a pretty good life, but sometimes you are like, if I go back to myself, and it sounds like you've had this as well. Sometimes the best things that you need something bad to happen so you can learn from it and you can improve.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think like the world has got so protected, like everyone has to have a good experience all the time. But again, I go back and I'm like, but the best things I ever did were after something pretty bad.
Yeah,
So So you finished with that as a business.
Yeah.
It sounds like you sort of sold or moved on or.
That's an interest, but I just want to go back to that because that's really interesting. I think this is contrast, right? You know, I do cold water and hot, right? This is like a metaphor for contrast.
Yes.
So like I was saying, like feeling like maybe like the goal when you're a kid one day is like not do anything, like to sit on a beach and just be happy like 100% of the time. Yeah. Like we're usually, I think, at our most like fulfilled and like euphoric moment when we just solved a problem, for example, that was like almost fucking impossible, was something really, really difficult, you know, and you're solving that ideally with like a few people, you know, and you're sharing that experience together. And I do believe that pain is important to experience joy, you know, like the music that's going to mean the most to you is going to be stuff that touches maybe on some of the hardest parts of your life, but also give you that real amazing feeling of feeling like we're fucking here right now, you know. I used to say to myself when I was a kid sometimes in these moments, like, I don't know, maybe it's like sat in the back of a car or a sunset, or maybe like the family, something had been really good that day. And I would repeat to myself, like, I am here now, like I'm here right now. I'd like really try and like build like a portal so that I can return back to that memory, you know, like I'm here now, I'm here now, I'm here now, you know. Wow. And I didn't really understand that till I was older. And I didn't really know that was a thing. And then later I was learning a mantra, which is basically that, like a meditation mantra. You close your eyes, meditate and repeat like in a Sanskrit word or something like I am, or aham, you know. And it's funny the things that can happen spontaneously, but I just want to experience as many moments like that. So I wanted a change of life, I guess. So try something new. I left my job at the time, and I was wondering how I got to that. And what I was saying was I had enough of what I needed, I guess.
Okay.
So like for me, I knew I didn't want to. There's a thing I see often, or a thing I see even in my staff back then. I wanted them to be motivated, but often I'd see them buying like the newest car, right? Or leasing.
Lifestyle creep.
Everyone's different, right? Everyone's motivation's different. But what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to like rent the car to drive to work to earn the money to rent the car, right? Like, to me, that's like a cycle that's like, it just didn't make sense to my life. So I had enough, and I wanted to change things up. I wanted to travel. So me and my wife and kids, we traveled Asia for 6 months together. Yeah. I didn't go to university or anything. So I didn't travel or take like a stopgap. So I was kind of doing that with my kids at like 31. This was maybe, I'd say 8 or 9, 8 years ago, something like that. So we did that, and then we went back to England, opened up the yoga studio, tried to get settled, and I just couldn't. Yeah, we got itchy feet, and we thought we need to move. And Asia was where we were planning. Yeah,
and then COVID kind of came along and kicked everyone.
I think we felt Asia was too far away, so Portugal was closer. You know, it was a couple of hours. My son had started surfing in India. Okay, and really enjoyed it. I mean, he was only 6, but he was like really enjoying it. Yeah. We moved here when he was 8, and he was skating and surfing, and it just seemed like a really cool place for him to grow up, and it has been. Yeah, you know. We moved to Portugal.
Because when we first met, you had, I assume you still have your house, which you're now selling, but you had on your land, you had a sauna, you had ice bath, and then you were doing breathwork in your house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That was the first iteration, which were, you know, so that kind of became your business at that point. I remember coming through I did the initiation, and then I did the breathwork for an hour and a half with you. Yeah. Which I've never done breathwork before. And again, a bit like the sauna and the ice, like these are all things in the last decade that have kind of become more in the, you know, daily conversation. But the first breathwork we did together, I was absolutely blown away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful, right?
Well, you said you may feel some things when you open your eyes at the end.
Yeah.
And then we went around the room, and, you know, people were like, I felt connected. Mm-hmm. I just broke down in tears. Yeah. Because I remember, like, the way that you did it, it was as if there was a portal which transported me to my mum, and I was just talking to my mum who passed away like 10 years ago, and I was talking to her about the kids and all the rest of it, and I was like, I'd never had anything like that before. Yeah. Which makes me think I should do it more regularly. Yeah. Like anything. But yeah, I don't know, to me that was an amazing moment.
Yeah. So this is the practice for sure. It's not, you know, I was very, very happy to guide people and to share it. But yeah, it's the practice does that. It does it for me too.
Yeah.
And I cry pretty much every time I do the breath work. I don't do the breath work daily. It's important for me to be honest about that. You know, some people maybe do it every day. I meditate every day, and I go to sauna like quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like I go to my own sauna, and I go to any sauna I can get my hands on, basically. But yeah, to me, like meditation is a bit like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
When I don't do these things, I feel there's like a plaque building up on my consciousness, you know. I was saying when I was a kid, I felt very connected, like these spontaneous moments of like curiosity, you know.
Yeah.
I remember like looking at my limbs and being like, oh, you know, like an Avatar, the guy wakes up and he's like, look, I was like that, but here, and I was like, yeah, not every day, but you know, there were times where I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Like, what is, like, even now, right? If we took this conversation really off piece, we could really like be like, what the fuck is going on right now? We won't. But I had that a lot when I was a kid. And then when you get a bit on, you know, and you've got bills and stuff, it can dissipate a little bit, to be honest. So I feel that plaque building up.
Yeah.
It was there for a while. I was working in this very fast-paced thing where it was my thing. It wasn't anyone's fault. Well, it actually gained me a lot, but I treated it like I was in an escape room every day, you know, where you're like desperately trying to solve puzzles. So that kind of like suppresses those feelings of awakeness, I guess I would say. Yeah. And so meditation for me like cleans that plaque. It takes the plaque down away from my soul. I guess like it dusts the cobwebs away a little bit.
How long do you do for meditation every day?
Like 20 minutes, 20 minutes. I do basically the same as like transcendental meditation, but like a modern, you know, something where the mantra is universal for everyone to share. So it's just kind of gently and effortlessly repeating a mantra in your mind until everything becomes quiet.
And that's something, so you guide yourself through it.
Yeah.
And what do you make of apps that do that as well? Like Headspace is obviously one that like 10 years ago sort of blew up, and then I don't know if it's disappeared now, but like...
There's lots of different ones. I tried a lot. I had a patch where I was very, very happy in my old job, but my wife thought I was having a heart attack one night. So we called it...
Never good.
I was very happy, but I was just, you know, I'd reached the point... This was at the point before I started slowing things down. So do you remember I said, I was there 9 years, 7 years of it was mental, 2 years I settled down. It was at that 7-year mark I started doing meditation because the ambulance came, and we thought I was like having a heart attack, or I definitely did. And they were like, you're having a panic attack, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, really?
But I don't think I am, because I'm really happy. Like, I associated anxiety with like sadness or depression, and I wasn't depressed. I was like very happy, but I was just on it, you know. I was just like very like working my ass off like a bit too hard without taking any downtime, I guess. So the meditation, I actually tried some different apps and stuff. And I think try and see what works for you. There's mindfulness. There's lots of different things you can try. So this meditation is very effortless. Like I said, it's a mantra repeat very gently. And for me, it works quite fast. So things become quite quiet. Nice. And even sometimes I can experience all meditations are good, even if you're experiencing some noise and agitation, but sometimes I can even experience some nice visuals and stuff, you know, without the use of any, there's no come down after, which is nice. So, that meditation works well for me. And then, you know, you can get there to a much deeper state with a faster state. Yeah. It's like, the breath work is very powerful. It is, in a way, it is a bit of a shortcut, but for me, it's quite strong. Yeah. I see that as going to the hygienist. Yeah. So meditation is like brush my teeth. The breath work is like, right, I need a good clear out of like a real deep clean now, like a spring clean. The breath work will come in. And I was lucky enough to go to Wim's house during the COVID. Yeah. And I practiced with Wim Hof for a weekend. And there was only about 20 of us, and we went pretty deep into the practice,
And he's the sort of, what do you want to call him? The god, the Dalai Lama, of breathwork? He's the most renowned person in the space?
He's pretty renowned. I mean, maybe not so much now, you know. I don't know. I'm really out of I've never really been good at, like, spectating or following things, you know. Like, I could never get into football because I didn't know how people could remember all of and I'm like that with everything, like, just... I don't know. My knowledge of like people isn't so good. I think there's probably a lot more modalities out there and different ways to do it. I'm a one-trick pony. I don't have a lot of knowledge. I just did this a lot. You know, like when I started teaching yoga, it's because I'd just done it a lot. I mean, like almost every day for a long time. So the breath work was like, I do 2 different types. I do one calming, down regulating. Mm-hmm. and I do one which is upregulating, which is the Wim Hof one. And I just did that a lot, and that's why I feel comfortable to share it, because I feel like I'm experienced with it a lot. But I would say, for sure, he's a bit of a legend, isn't he?
And how did you get sort of introduced to him, or how did that come to pass?
Oh, I was so on that trip. I took that I basically went backpacking with the kids, kind of. I had my gap year with the family. I got bitten by an insect, in Sri Lanka, and I got about a week later, I got very unwell and was taken to hospital with sepsis. So I had a bit of a scare there. I arrived in Thailand as I was getting sick, so I was in a really good hospital, really good care, and spent a week or 8 days in hospital. Yeah, pretty rough.
Wow.
Yeah, and then 6 months later, I was back in England doing a yoga retreat in Yorkshire, and I was hiking, but I went with flip-flops on. I didn't take enough stuff with me, basically. And so I got bitten by a tick, and then I got Lyme's disease. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like 6 months. So, neither of them are huge, violin stories, but I was pretty ill twice within 6 months. And I had this thing where the stories I've told you so far, about taking responsibility and you really having to take part in how your life is going. That coupled with the fact, like I said, also, I think you're really happy when you're solving problems. I saw it as that. So I was weirdly kind of pumped for it. I was like, let's go, let's
something to overcome.
Let's really throw some stuff out there. So I did everything, tinctures and potions and cleanses. I sold a car and bought a sauna for my garden. This was, what was this? 2018, maybe 19, something like that. Bought a sauna, and I was doing, I saw this crazy bearded guy doing this cold stuff. And I was like, let's give that a go. So started doing cold water and sauna a lot, every day. And I just tried everything. There's something called chronic Lyme's, which I don't know a lot about, but as far as I'm aware, it can wreak havoc with your nervous system. And I think having the sepsis not long before that, I was like the back problem. I was like, right, let's take care of this. Let's really throw everything at this. And as I said, you begin things for a physical reason, right? There's a crisis to solve. Yeah. But how that stuff made me feel, I was back to that. I'd be in the ice bath, and you come out and you've done it. And you feel you feel alive.
So good,
yeah. So there's a lot of information out there, and then there's a lot of contradictory information, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. All of that's just noise for me. I don't care. This stuff, I can feel that it's good for me. And that's, I know cocaine can make me feel great on a night, but it makes me feel like shit the next day, for example, right?
Yeah.
I know when I go to cold water, I go to sauna, I feel good.
Yes.
Or I meditate, or I move, and then I feel good, and I feel good, and I feel good.
Yeah, and you sleep good, yeah.
There's no down from that. So that's what keeps me practicing this stuff. I don't really care too much for statistics and numbers and stuff. I find that's just usually there to sell something, right?
Yeah. But then because in the setup you had before, you had the sauna, and then you had the ice bath, which was regulated 4 degrees, was it?
Yeah, so we started off actually, so when we first began, there was a barrel. I had a wine barrel, and I had a 2-man sauna, and I would just fit 6 people in there and squeeze them. And how it began was I thought basically there would be, I was doing it a lot by myself, but it's nice to have a few people around. So I thought maybe there'd be 10 people in the area that might want to give it a go. And then I did a first workshop, and then things got busy. So we upgraded the ice bath at some point, got a bigger one. So it was set to maybe 4 degrees or something, was it? Something like that. Yeah. And then we upgraded the sauna about 3 years ago and got a bigger one. I felt bad because people would come out of the cold. And, if it was a group of 10 or 12, they'd be waiting outside looking through the glass at the people in there. And the ones in there were trying to...
look anywhere else.
They're just because they're trying to warm up. And then, I really enjoyed mixing the cold and the sauna. And now we have our garden space. Yeah.
And where'd you get the sauna from?
It's from Estonia.
That seems to be the hotbed for saunas at the moment. Everyone seems to be hyped on that as a country of origin.
Yeah, and Finland. Finland, Estonia. I mean, I have so many people with so many different sauna cultures coming. Russians, Ukrainians, Polish, Estonians. Finnish, Germans, England is now kicking off really nicely. Yeah.
I studied in Finland for 6 months, and when I was up there, we had and it was a fairly basic student accommodation, but we had a sauna in the house. And I work a lot in Norway now, and up there they have like 6-7 different saunas like on the fjord in the centre of Oslo.
Right.
And it's such a nice thing because it's almost like going to the pub in England.
Yeah.
Like, I'll meet you at the sauna, and you just go there and you have a nice conversation for an hour and a half, and you jump into the fjord.
Yeah.
Get out. They've got one which is crazy. It's like an A-frame house, and it's got smaller, very warm saunas, and then they've got one which is probably, it's not that hot, it's like 75, 80, but it's got a bar in the bottom, and it fits like 60 people, and it's a massive A-frame house.
Did you say that's in Oslo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this.
Salt,
Yeah, very cool.
And it's very cool. But the challenge is the first time I went there, everyone from work was like, yeah, we're going to go to sauna, and it has a bar in the bottom. So next thing, like, again, talking about alcohol, four pints later, came out, and good learning not to do that because I was absolutely fried. Didn't sleep. Next day dehydrated. So I've learned a lot.
Know, in Finland also sometimes not traditionally or anything like that, but sometimes a beer can definitely be consumed.
Yeah.
Not too many. At my place, I do have
no alcohol.
To be honest, because. In England, particularly, you know, our culture is
very alcohol dependent. Yeah.
It is. I thought that was everywhere until I started traveling. I was like, no, we're pretty on it.
I was in Manchester this weekend, and it was probably one of the first sunny weekends, and just the amount of people just sat there in the sun, just necking pints. And, you know, in Germany, obviously, beer garden culture is big, but there is some... Yeah, I think
it's a different thing, isn't it? We get a bit carried away, I think. Yeah, we get a bit carried away when, you know...
So do you not drink at all anymore?
No, I do. I have a really good sort of relationship. I mean, not good, you know... I haven't like been drunk, I would say, in I think probably 7 or 8 years. I can actually remember the last time.
Yeah.
It was like secret cinema in London. Went to watch the Romeo and Juliet, and and I didn't. My older brother lives in London. We don't go out socially very often. We both of us have kids, and him and his wife, me and my wife, we were there and just got a bit carried away, and it felt pretty rough the next day. So that was the last time I was. That was the last time I could have done with the Backtrack app to see, you know. But luckily, Erin was there, so I could just ask her.
And so the community that you've built is called Inyo, right?
Yeah.
How many people are in that WhatsApp group?
We have about 300 now, I would say, something like that. Yeah, nearly 300. So what started off as like what I thought would be a couple of handfuls of people coming became a lot. And then what happened, we were doing it at our house, and we used to move the furniture every week because it became every Saturday, then every Thursday. And we needed to separate the home from work, I guess. We also moved into a smaller house and downsized as well. And it just grew faster than I... Well, it was never the idea to be totally honest. It happened by mistake. I'd like to say it was all a plan, but it was an accident. You know, like I just love this stuff. And I guess from what I'm told, if you really love something a lot, then and you share it in that way from the heart, then people quite enjoy that too. But in England, this stuff's getting pretty big as well, I think, because it is an alternative to the pub. I believe it is in England. We have our own spin on it. It's big now. There are saunas everywhere.
I've seen.
And I love it. I'm personally so happy for the Brits. I think, we get a tough deal, but we work pretty hard. The weather's pretty shit. And, the sauna really gives us a way to get outside and to socialise without needing to drink. And there are a lot of ex-drinkers going to sauna in the UK and having that opportunity to kind of socialise there. And I would say even ours here in Portugal, we have people that are going there instead of going out and doing drugs and getting drunk and stuff. It's a nice alternative. Yeah.
It's nice as well. I had a friend come recently, and we actually used the one at Osim. They've got one in the back garden there. Right. I had a friend come and stay, and he's gone through a couple of personal challenges, and I was like, okay, am I going to take him for dinner? Are we going to go for a beer? And then I randomly met a friend, and I was like, oh. So I took him for a sauna, ice bath for like 2 hours for like a couple of weeks in a row on the Tuesday night, and it was the best way of reconnecting. Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah, immediate relief, right?
Yeah, and you're doing something, but you're kind of passively doing something.
Yeah.
And it's not like if you're surfing, there's a objective.
True, yeah.
It's very nice that you can just be present and have a conversation.
The cold water for me, to be honest, like, because he's probably experiencing a lot of noise in his mind, right? A lot of interference, because now he's experiencing, dissatisfaction, maybe, some challenges, I guess. So that can cause us to have quite hyperactive thinking mind, I have that anyway. So when I wake up, I thought everyone had this till recently, right? But when I wake up in the morning, if you imagine there's 3 or 4 people speaking over each other about different subjects at the same time. Yeah. So my mind does that first thing. Does yours do that? Or?
No.
No. Okay. So I'm learning this now.
I'm quite lucky. Mine is just like get downstairs, get a coffee.
Yeah.
Maybe do some yoga, do some work while the house is quiet.
And is your mind quite quiet at that point?
Yes, and I learned this doing that first book, because I think when I worked in the US, it was like I wouldn't start working until I got to the office. I was like, no, I need this.
Yeah.
And then when we got here, I was like, oh, I actually work really well from about 5 until about 9.
Yeah, great.
Doesn't work that well in an office environment. Luckily, I work from home, so it's fine. But I don't know. I find most things work really well in the morning because I don't have other voices and also don't have distractions.
Yeah. I also am more productive in the morning, like even socially. Like I'd rather go for breakfast than dinner with someone. True. 100%. But yeah, so when I wake up, I have a few. It's my voice,
just multiple versions,
but multiple, and they're talking about separate subjects, and it can be quite overwhelming. Sometimes the best thing I can do in that situation is to get up and do something. Yeah, so it can be. What I used to do is like lay in bed and because my wife she's inspiring because she sleeps so well, like
my wife as well.
Yeah, and I love that, and it's important. I think everyone always says like find someone you have something in commone with. I think that's bullshit. Like find someone who's like the absolute opposite, and you'll probably find a middle ground. So normally I don't. Probably I can be a bit annoying. I guess I wake up in the morning pretty ready excited. Yeah, like I said, I genuinely feel really grateful every day. Just to be here, I guess. So I have those sort of noise. I have that interference first thing. As soon as I begin doing some mobility, because when you're moving, you're breathing. But if I get into cold water or into a sauna, if I get into hot or cold, then immediately my mind becomes quiet. And so maybe I had 100 thoughts going on.
And it just calms it.
And then it just comes down. And then there's 3 or 4 important things that's left over. And so it's like, if you want to reprioritize what you give a shit, what you really care about, cold water is a very fast way to get there. So it might seem like a fad, but I truly believe it's like a fast way to get that relief. And same with the sauna as well. Yeah.
Super good. So then to kind of come a bit fast forward to where you are now. Yeah. I was fascinated by this because obviously your education, school, etc. Before we started, you were saying that you're going to move to Thailand, but the kids aren't in school at the moment. So I was like, what are you going to do with the kids at school? Yeah. So your kids have homeschooled since the beginning, or?
So we took them out of school in England when they were maybe 4 and 6. We went to Asia for 6 months. Yeah. They came back, they did a bit of school, but then we took them out. We had COVID. Everything was a bit messy anyway. And then when we came here, they went to a permaculture school, doing outdoorsy stuff. They're still young, to me, just getting muddy and learning, but learning with your hands was probably the priority. When it got to the stage where I felt like they needed to really start taking responsibility, that's when we pulled them out of there. And they've been, homeschooling, I guess, is what you'd call it. Sometimes I worry about giving this perception that we have everything figured out and we have this perfect homeschooling schedule and stuff. I think that can make it seem intimidating or unobtainable for people. We do our best, we're trying our best. Who knows? I don't know if it's going to work out. I'll let you know in 10 years if they're still living at home or whatever. But right now it's going well. Yeah, they've been homeschooling for 3 years now. And when we arrive in Thailand, they'll continue doing that. Yeah.
But what I find interesting, so you were saying that they're pretty vocational in what they're spending their time on, right? It's fairly specific now. Yeah,
so we had this conversation in the car. We were on the way to the Algarve to meet my brother. They were coming for a week, and we had a spontaneous conversation. I think driving is also very a good fucking sauna and ice bath.
Passive space.
Yeah, just driving.
Not even looking at each other.
I swear, my most profound moments was in the back of the car when my parents drove when I'm young and looking out the window and it's raining and you're just looking at the drops roll down. That to me is life. That's the important stuff. So we had this conversation where I asked them what the things they could see themselves doing one day. Yeah. This was a year and a half ago, and we came up with a list for each of them. Yeah. Okay. And then what I did is, so I used to have project managers working for me, I guess. So I treat them a little bit more like project managers, which you have to get correct because I don't want to be an employer or a boss for them, but it's gently nudging them in the right direction. Yeah. One thing we do have a principle of is we'll always be here for you and we'll love you and we'll cherish you and we'll we'll help where we can, like emotion, everything. But I've made it very clear from the beginning, your future at some point is your responsibility, because at school, I believe people have this, is someone else's problem, my future. I want them to know now.
It's yours.
You know, it is, Whilst maintaining a playful life, I don't want to make things too serious and scary for them. But you need to know, like, at some point, what you're experiencing in life is going to be your responsibility, 100%. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So we kind of made this list, and then I set them projects around these things, these subjects, and then they figured out like what they didn't really like, so we'd review it. We have a stand-up like every morning of the week, so we stand around a board, me and my wife and 2 kids, and we have post notes, and we just kind of like talk about what they did yesterday, what they're working on next, what the next thing is they want to achieve and they want to deliver. As you know, like a whole year can pass where you do nothing, right? Yeah. So like I'm a list maker. I make, so like one of the biggest things, like I'm not a particularly intelligent person, I would say, at all, and definitely not very well educated. I had a good work ethic, but also I think one of the things looking back was I make lists. I have a list, like a pen and paper. There's just stuff I have to do. And then I kind of have this thing where I have this like tunnel vision where I like, if I'm working on something, I almost can't see anything else until it's done. So we kind of do that, but on a board, because it's quite nice to do it as a group. It feels quite nice to share each other's problems. Like, oh, I've got this issue that I'm struggling to get around. Anyway, over the last year and a half, they've sort of narrowed that down. So my youngest is animating. He had his first animation shown in Eddie Saylor last year on the big screen at an animation festival, which is pretty cool. And then he's also making prosthetic masks, like latex, like special effects mask kind of thing. And scar wax. He's like making scar wax and stuff.
How old is he?
He's 11.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's got his first web series cartoon coming out in 2 days, which he's very excited about. Called Baked Beans, it's called. It's about a group of friends, kids who are like making a band called Baked Beans.
Amazing.
So yeah, 5 minutes. So that'll be coming out in 2 days. Maybe I'll see if I can share that somewhere.
That's amazing.
But that's really cool. And then my eldest is, he's into movie making. So it's a really big subject, and it might seem a little bit risky to be so specific, but I don't know anything about movie making, but it seems like there's like editing, filming, you know, working with the cameras, script writing, directing, like it seems like a big enough field that within that there's probably going to be something. And then he's pretty mad about music as well. You know, of course, like he would love to be like a guitar player for like a rock band or something. But yeah, he's the movie stuff. So he's just like gone from like iMovie to DaVinci Resolve. I don't really know what that is apart from what he tells me. So he's training on that at the moment, learning about color grading and stuff. And then, so we'll set him like a specific target around that. Same with the animation stuff. It's like, it's not just make a movie. It's like, what emotion do you want to evoke in your audience? And then make the animation, then ask them, what emotions did you feel? So then you get like a direct feedback loop of, did you achieve something tangible rather than just making a thing, you know? And so, yeah, they're both working on these YouTube channels. And because they're both doing it, you do have that little bit of healthy rivalry where they're like, you know, it's good, but they're both like talking about how many subscribers they've got and stuff. And I find it quite inspiring as well.
It's very, especially with the way the world is going, like having a specific vocation that you're actually really invested in is great. So
yeah, I think so. Cool. And if it's creative and artistic as well, I mean, the thing is, like, if they were really academic, like the school might be the best place for them. I'm not like anti-school. It's just who they are. It's not necessarily right for them, you know. I think find what's right for you, but for them, they're both creative and actually, I've experienced or I've witnessed them in the classroom and it not really. It seems like they're not loving it.
No, I get that, and you see it. You definitely see it with some people. Like my sister she got I think 10 A stars and however many A levels you can get A star, and I sort of scraped through, and I was always just like, how does she do this? And she just had a system to revise and all the rest of it, and she could pass the test, and I couldn't. But again, that should be no precursor for one's success down the line.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to touch on a few before we finish here.
Yeah,
a few questions. Problem. So, because I think we've been all around the houses here. You've obviously been with Wim Hof and other people, but best advice that you've ever got in your life can be from anyone.
Yeah, I would say one I guess that my old boss was kind of a mentor to me from pretty young age, from 22, and like going through like the kids thing. And he used it's a famous phrase anyway, but it's if you can't find a way, create one, basically. And I would say through health and through work, That's kind of, I followed that. Sometimes if someone tells me something I believe in, I almost follow it like 100%, like relentlessly. I don't take those things lightly. Yeah. And I would say that's paid off quite well. And I still follow that. We had trouble opening our sauna business here for licensing things and stuff that we got through in the end. Yeah. But for those 2 years, it was like, I don't know whether it was like a bit of that internal dialogue, like you have to find a way because that's the way you've been bred. You know, it was bred into me. Like if we didn't solve a problem, like in my old, like, you know, it was like we would feel a deep sense of pain and shame over that, you know, and that's still probably there a little bit, wrongly or rightly. So I do think that's important. We're very easy to say, I've got this health thing or whatever, I give up. You know, it's like...
That's another good thing to instill into kids as well. Because it's easy to think, oh, I tried, it didn't work, stop. So, okay.
Yeah.
What doesn't matter to you anymore that you maybe cared about back in the day?
Yeah, stuff, I would say, like things. Yeah, you know, me and Erin, neither of us, you know, relatively speaking, globally, but we were. You know, I would say we probably didn't grow up with much. Yeah. So when I had like 1 year, I guess, where I sort of indulged a little bit, where I had the ability to do that. And what happens is you like get more rooms maybe, and then you like fill those rooms with stuff, and you enjoy like maybe buying, you know, something that's, you know, not from, I don't know, you know, buying something a bit more expensive or whatever. And I realized really quickly that stuff wasn't for me. When there's empty rooms or I have like an excess of stuff, I feel a bit sick, to be honest. Like it's a physical thing. I feel like I've eaten too much pizza. Like it's the same feeling, like I've overindulged. And for me, one of the reasons we go to Thailand every year, I think, was that feeling of like just having everything in a backpack. Sounds a bit cliche, doesn't it? But it feels light on my shoulders.
When we moved here from the US, we came with like, I think we came with like 5 bags.
Yeah.
And we just left everything in the US, and I went back a couple of years later and sold it all. But when we were living there, it was crazy because you either have like an apartment or you're like, okay, I'll buy a house now.
Yeah.
And the houses are massive. Like they've got like 4 or 5 bedrooms. And so we had this house, even with 2 kids, we're like, never been in that room, don't use that room. And that's the thing. You end up just like, oh, well, maybe I should just buy, I don't know, some art that I don't really care about. I'll put that on the wall. So.
Yeah, you have to fill the space. So we've been relentlessly reducing our belongings. Nice. So we downsized here in Portugal and gave that a try for a while, but we still feel like we live slightly in excess. This isn't like even something I'd recommend to everyone. It's just me personally. I feel lighter without things. Like more stuff kind of brings like more problems, I would say. So we're about to move to Thailand, and we will have a 2-bedroom, and we'll probably give the rooms each to our kids. They're about to be teenagers, and I think we just plan to have like a Japanese fold-out futon we just sleep on in the living room, and that's it. Yeah, and then when the kids are older, I think we'll just plan to live in a studio. Because sometimes having less space, it like forces you to reprioritize. You know, like the to-do list thing. Like if you keep your page small, you have less shit on there. You know, just keep everything has to fit on like a small page. Is I think the wherever you're living can be like that. Is like if you have more space, you have more shit.
Yeah, more stuff.
You have to prioritize. Have one of everything. Yeah.
And then before we did this, I sent you a message with some like, oh, I'd like to ask you about this. And one of those is like, at what point did you just say, fuck it, I'm going to go for it? And you were like, oh, that's not really me. I overthink everything. But I think for a lot of people, it's all what your realm of reality is. And I just wondered, like, was there any moment for you? Because to me, like, moving to Thailand seems like quite a big moment, as would probably moving to Portugal from the UK.
Yeah. I can tell you why, I guess. I mean, there has been, putting the kids out of school, I guess, is something, isn't it?
Yes, it's a pretty big one as well,
A bit nerve-wracking, especially when most people are telling you you're crazy or whatever, or like you're doing a bad job. That you have to, it's easier to follow the norm. Resisting it can actually be a little bit harder. But I can tell you why. I mentioned earlier that I had this like sort of deep sense of mortality. I went through this like sort of sad stage at some point as a kid, which I remember quite vividly, like having this realization, which then became this like real feeling that gave me this incredible sense of vitality and feeling alive and stuff like that. If there's any points where I have gone, fuck it, let's do this thing, it's purely because I am aware of time. It's not infinite. And, I mean, what am I really putting at risk in those situations?
What's the worst that's gonna
what's
happen?
worse going to happen? Like getting rid of stuff, it's just stuff. It really doesn't mean anything. To some extent, you know, people can even ask about tattoos and stuff, like how did you feel about getting them? And often I've always just felt like, well, there's not really enough time to really care about it. You know, I don't even care that much about my skin necessarily. Does that mean I care? But it's like, it's not something I'll overthink. But it sounds quite doom and gloomy, but really I find it is such a massive motivation to really, really prioritize in life what you care about and what you don't. What I feel like, and this is why I work, by the way, in the industry I work in, is what I feel like is the majority of us, me included, are often spending a lot of energy thinking about things, overactive thinking about stuff that isn't actually important to us. I think we're doing that as a result of being in a constant state of fear by constantly doing. And when we're in that fear, we have that fight or flight through our bodies all the time. You know, we're not getting into that state of calm and relax. When that happens, it's like a constant state of dissatisfaction. So we try and soothe ourselves with more stuff. Right? That's why we buy the new car or the shopping, or
it never really fills
or a
the
new
space.
partner, right? Or a new job.
But it never fills the space.
Like at some point, right, with your partner, you know, you would have been desperate to spend every single minute, not you, John, whoever, me included, right? You're desperate to spend every moment with them of the day. All you can think about is them. The world would end if you're not with them, right? What happens is we go into this really ridiculous state, right, where we're completely, our consciousness has plaque on it, okay, going back to that example. Plaque is all over our consciousness, whatever, our soul, everything's muted and dumbed down. So we feel like something's wrong with that person or with the relationship. So you start looking for something else or whatever, the same with a job. If we can maintain that sense of consciousness, which, to be honest with you, I feel so intensely sometimes, this state of being alive, that is, I feel like it can be annoying for people, so I try and, it's great. I try and reduce it down a little bit. But if we can all sustain that feeling of being alive and really prioritizing what's important, I believe we'll have more meaningful relationships, and more that we're able to sustain. More of that feeling when you go to the sauna and the cold plunge with your friend and you're like, fuck, I'm fucking here. What I was saying earlier, I'm here right now, looking at your fucking hands and your legs. Like, if we can sustain that for longer periods of time, that can only bring more positive, meaningful experiences, relationships. When we're sat in the back of the car looking out the window at the raindrops falling down the fucking thing and like being amazed by something as simple as that, I want people to experience more of that for longer periods of time. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing now, literally just for that. The business side now, I really, whatever. But if people can experience that a little bit more, I want to share that. I
think one thing that, for example, the example with your partner, my partner, sometimes because of, I don't know, the way the world works of like, well, if you just buy this, life will be better. Sometimes I think if you were to look at a job description for the job you do or the partner you have, you know, because we all have those moments with your partner where you're like, oh, this, and she probably does with me. I know she does. But it's like, oh, you know, she'll travel around the world with you. She'll leave this country. She'll do this thing. She'll raise kids. Like, if you saw that on paper, you're like, fucking, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think it's the same with careers and stuff. And I say to people quite often, I'm like, what is it that you actually want? Because sometimes if you look at the job you do right now, you'd be like, oh, that sounds like a dream job. I'll apply for it. And it's like, well, that's what you already do. So, all right, last question.
Just add, please. John, just on that. I think it basically requires proactive participation. There's too many forces going against us now, right? So we self-soothe the suffering, or less suffering is used a lot, but dissatisfaction with consumerism or drugs or alcohol, porn or whatever. So there's so many of those forces against us because they're in our pockets now, right? You know, not to go down that rabbit hole, but everything is a fucking distraction, right? Like I say to the kids, like, you can just eat pizza and chocolate when you turn 18. That's a massive responsibility. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You go in the supermarket, everything that's like shown to you is the bad stuff. You have to like look for the good stuff. So what I've gone back on with the meditation and the back injury and the whatever the weird heart thing was, and you know, the sepsis stuff, it's like you have to take part is my message. It's like you have to be proactive about it, or you can give up and just let it all happen to you. There's a saying that's thrown around a lot, which is like, you know, just rolling with it and accepting and submitting. You know, I'll be honest, fundamentally, I don't necessarily believe that is the case with a lot of these things now. we have to take part in finding space. My motivation is selfishly, so I've said what I want to do for people, but selfishly now, motivation is to basically do enough to create more space for me to experience those moments of connection, that spontaneous wonder, more of those moments where I'm sat doing nothing and unexpectedly I feel like flooded with fucking emotion and intensity. Like that, that's all I want. That's all I want out of life more than the stuff. So I think that was just important. But you can tell when you came out of the breathwork, right? I see the tears a lot. Yeah. It's amazing. Like for me, it's such a nice thing to see people have that relief and that feeling. It motivates me, you know. Yeah. But I do know sometimes naturally maybe the week will pass and the month will pass and that feeling of sheer determination to experience more of this life starts to phase, and what we end up doing is back in this cycle, back on the treadmill again. How can we keep people sustaining that feeling of consciousness longer?
It's because I mean I think with that I'm 46, so I remember when the iPhone came out. I mean, we all do, but the internet, all the rest of it. Before that period, like I remember driving places, and you just listen to Radio 1, and you're driving, and that's what you did. And you had, maybe if you had a friend in the car, you'd have a conversation. You'd have so many ideas, though. Yeah. And the challenge now, and I see it's with myself, you'll be driving, you stop at the traffic lights, you look at your phone, and then you're like, oh, this thing, fuck, da-da-da. And then the moment of boredom has gone, and it's like something I think about for my kids, like, because what am I going to do now? Because I don't have this thing for 5 minutes. Yeah. Like, you almost want to promote boredom because it is so important in terms of going into your head a bit. Like, I had it when I first did the book, when we made a snowboard film with friends. I would have never have done it if I wasn't bored. Yeah. So, right.
Boredom, 100% agree. Yeah.
Last question then. What would you tell your teenage self?
Yeah, so that's really hard as well because, I was saying earlier about like you being responsible for your own fate and things like this. So I believe that, but also it also means that micro decisions and micro experiences can lead to big changes, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I do believe there's a certain element of fate and things taking a natural path. I could have said to myself as a teenager, like, everything's going to be okay, like, there was some tough times, and I think I could have said everything's going to be all right, like, don't worry, but what would have been the effect of that? Maybe I just would have like chilled out a bit. Maybe I wouldn't have been doing that thing of like trying to solve the escape room every single day and got myself to this stage now where truly there's nothing I would change, not one thing I'd change about my life right now. I am 10 out of 10 for joy. There's not one thing I would change. Like, amazing. So, like if I said something, it could be risky, couldn't it? Like the time travel movies, like or like the butterfly
effect. I know what
effect.
you mean. If it was to change something, but I do. I could say like go easy on the booze a bit in the teens. I could say like go easy on yourself a bit. I guess like this is my first time doing this, and it feels strange, and I would always usually 100% of the time block myself from doing something like this because I don't feel necessarily like I've got anything. I really value people's time, and I feel like if I'm not providing them with something valuable, then I've stolen from them, And I think as a person, I would lean, this is probably where I go against all of my advice, but where I would lean on the side of like saying to myself that what I've got to offer isn't good enough, maybe, rather than it is. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But you talked me into it, Again, I think that's maybe a British thing that we're taught to sort of believe that, I don't know if it's the tall poppy syndrome, but there is a bit where we're all, I don't know. Again, I think in the UK there is this thing that if you stand up and say like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm quite good. I actually listened to a thing yesterday and they were talking about athletes, for example. Like Paul Gascoigne is held up as one of like the nation's treasures. Yeah. He had a great couple of seasons. Then he got a silly injury. He drank a lot and he never reached his potential. You have other people like Lewis Hamilton who exceeded his potential and worked hard, but he's very forthright with like, I want to be the best. Britain doesn't really celebrate people like that as much as they do Paul Gascoigne. It's a strange thing that we have.
Pete Doherty as an artist. I'm a big Pete Doherty
I saw him
fan.
in Innsbruck. Amazing.
Right, yeah. So, he's very British.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Maybe we're all just a bit fucked up in England.
I don't know. I think we like to celebrate a romantic view of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
What I will say is you've definitely if this were a credit and debit, I don't know if that's the example, but you have absolutely smashed it. So thank you.
Oh,
that's very insightful and very, very cool that you spent an hour and a half with me. So
thanks for making me feel better about it, because
it's great, mate. It's a super good story, and I think, you know, whether it's parenting, whether it's your own sort of upbringing, whether it's sauna, breathwork, eyes. Yeah. I think everyone can take something from it. So thank you.
I'll let you know how the next steps go. Yeah, we've got big changes coming up, so I'll keep you updated.
Please do. All right. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to the Anti-Blueprint Project. It wouldn't be possible without people like you listening, reading, and supporting. I haven't actually figured out where this whole thing is going to live yet. The one thing I do know is I have an Instagram channel for it, so it's very simple. Instagram at the Anti-Blueprint Project. I'll be updating everything there in terms of where you can watch episodes, where you can download podcasts, and eventually, when I get around to it, which I hope is going to be in the next year or two, where you can buy the book. So the Anti-Blueprint Project on Instagram is where we're headed. Thanks so much.